Welcome back, everybody. As promised, I have got Dr. John Hatch here in person in studio. Hi.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming up today.
Thanks for having me.
So I have been begging for this guy to get up here. You work with my sister, Christine, and she pretty much doesn't answer my phone calls because you're so busy. She's just like, no, Holly, no. But I finally twisted arms enough because, hello, you have this awesome book that is coming out on what day?
May 4th.
May 4th, it's going to be available, and we are so excited to hear about it. But let's first just start, because we've been talking off camera about this whole journey to how you got to having this book, and it's such a cool story. We kind of have to start at the beginning. So you're a doctor of chiropractic, and you have an emphasis in functional neurology.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about how that all happened.
Okay. So while I was at school in California, I studied just general chiropractic. I thought I was going to be a rack 'em and crack 'em, they say. And in chiropractic school, there's a program called the Carrick Institute. It's a facility that teaches you functional neurology. And Dr. Ted Carrick is the grandfather, we like to call him, even though he's not that old, of functional neurology. And he basically showed us how to rehab a brain through therapy. And I had my first patient with Parkinson's that she had been diagnosed at 56 years old with really severe tremors and posturing and mask face. And in 3 weeks, with just colored glasses and sound therapy, she upright, no more tremors, and it changed. Wow. And so that's what got me into it.
Tell me some of the people that come in and work with you.
So a lot of our patients, they range from a lot of neurological dysfunctions, whether it's a physical one like neuropathy, chronic back pain, vertigo, dizziness, chronic headaches, migraines. Also, people with autoimmune disorders, gut dysfunction, all of those things are still controlled by the brain. So we got to look at what's going on in the brain.
Wow. And then we were talking a little bit about anxiety prior to our interview, and about the fact that anxiety is one of the main things you treat because people are out there trying all kinds of different things. And one of the main things, if people are seeing a therapist or doing a bunch of different practices, you can help them so quickly, and you break that down in the book. Why, right?
Very much. And the important thing is to understand when you're dealing with anxieties, if we take that diagnosis, it's usually you're dealing in a neurological fight or flight response. And if you're in a fight or flight, you can't calm down. You can't relax. And people say, it's all in your head. Every time I hear that, it's all in your head, I laugh because I say, you're absolutely right and you're absolutely wrong. In the fact that when you're in a fight or flight response, it's a reflexive response. You don't have the ability in a fight or flight response to be like, oh, I'd really like to make a comfortable decision right now. It just doesn't neurologically happen. So when you're in that fight or flight, it's fight, flight, and freeze. Like some people just freeze. If you can change that, then the therapy works, then the medication works. I've had so many people come in on massive amount of medication and it's not even working. We do a couple brain therapies, get them out of the fight or flight response, then their medication works. Then they get the symptom change, and then when they're ready, they go to their doctor and can get off that medication. It's not that that doctor didn't do the right thing. The doctor tried everything they had with what they have and what they know. I give so much credit to the medical field for what they've learned and what they've taught us. Sometimes there's more we can do. Sometimes there's another part of that healing process that individual needs, and wow, makes the greatest change for them. This
concept of what you're doing works with absolutely everything or anything anyone is struggling with. And it's all explained in here, which is the coolest thing. I love you can be an addition to whatever therapy or whatever anyone's doing, especially if someone is frustrated and not seeing the results.
And that's the hardest thing, is when people ask, what do you treat? And I'm like, well, it kind of engulfs everything, but that's such a flawed view in any type of medical world that someone can say, I treat everything, is a bad point to be in. The thing that we look at it differently is just what part of the brain is working and what is not. So if someone comes in with weight loss issues, we know the hypothalamus is involved with weight loss. We know that the temporal lobe regulates adrenal glands, and we know that cortisol, adrenal, insulin is balanced in the gut, but your brain controls that gut. So if you want a chance at weight loss and you're stuck, you have to get that brain to function and fire appropriately to make a change. And when we think about hormones, and we got hormone replacement, we got, you got progesterone and testosterone, they look at thyroid. Well, what controls the thyroid? The pituitary gland. What controls the pituitary gland? The hypothalamus. What controls the hypothalamus? It's all centered in the cortex. It's all in brain and brainstem reflexes. So you got to get that to work.
So you're taking Synthroid every day, and that's probably not doing a darn thing if you're still having symptoms of thyroid or all Hashimoto's.
Or especially with people that do get the same blood lab. They've been on a drug, and the blood lab's the exact same 6 months later. If that drug was the right receptor and right change for that person, it would have changed.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't, you activate the brain, and they stay on that Synthroid. All of a sudden, they come back 3 months later.
They're good.
And their blood levels are normal for the first time in a year. And they're like, oh, great, we got the right dosage right. No, they've been on the same dosage the whole time. It was the combination of the two. And that's why I love what we do, because you don't need to remove what you were doing. It's not evading or getting rid of what you've tried. It's building on it.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about kids and kids suffering with ADHD and autism and Asperger's. I mean, right now I think you have a lot of parents out there frustrated, scared, and without hope.
Yep. And there's way too much of that, and it shouldn't be. I mean, the problem is that we see is, again, these are developmental changes that need to occur within the child. It's not that the parenting's wrong. A lot of times the parents, I know from a parent standpoint, they'll say, woe is me, what did I do wrong? What have I not done? Is it my problem? Well, sometimes it might be a little imbalance with frustration, but most of the time it's just that child's brain not developing the way that we did. When we grew up, we didn't have screens. We didn't have all electronics. The average person, when they look at their phone, if I was to take their phone, no one holds it out here. Anything under 18 inches, you start to converge your eyes. If you converge your eyes, you activate the fight or flight response, because that's the midbrain. And when you look down, your eyes have a tendency to go together again. So you look down and close, you have a double whammy. And they do that for 5 to 6 days and then scroll up and down. You got now this fight or flight response. In the fight or flight response, your gut does not absorb food. It has to be in a rest and digest state. So good luck at that gut problem.
On top of the anxiety and the ADHD and the everything else. So kids that are having access to these things, that's why we all of a sudden have this huge increase in children that are struggling with these learning issues or developmental issues, and you totally understand why and explain it. So tell me about some of the things we'll find in here.
Okay. One of the major newest things that we've discovered is called neuroplasticity. In simple terms, the brain's plastic. It can mold and change based on heat, so to speak. And that heat is energy. And so if you activate a certain part of the brain, you can change the direction of that output, or balance that output and control what it's doing or not doing. And so that's our big focus. That's one of the major chapters in there.
Let's talk about the book, how it all came to pass, because I know you have no time to be writing a book.
No.
I love talking to authors. My co-host Nate Jones just wrote an urban fantasy, and he was explaining to me how it's like, you wake up before your kids are up, weekends, nights, like on vacation in the morning. I mean, it's not an easy thing to throw one of these out into the world.
Most of this credit goes to your sister.
Oh, hey, that's fun.
If it wasn't for your sister, Christine, I would never have written the book.
Okay.
Patients come into our practice dealing with so many issues. They've seen sometimes 15 to 30 doctors. And the problem is that no one explains neurologically what's going on. It's, oh, you have this symptom, this is what the drug you need, or this is the therapy you need, or this is the way that you need to go to get health. Change of diet, change of lifestyle. Well, we look at the brain so differently. It's all backed in neuroscience, but they don't have anything written up till this Thursday. There wasn't anything written on it. Everything that's written on functional neurology is in neuroscience peer-reviewed articles. They're in massive, thick textbooks, and it's really hard to understand it if you haven't spent your life trying to study it. And so I just got so many patients asking me over and over and over again, can you please give us something? And so finally, Christine, your sister, told me, you better write this book. And so I decided to write the book, and the amazing thing is because I didn't have time to write it, I actually spoke it.
Okay.
I told the story of what your brain does, from development and how the breakdown in the brain can create gut issues, can create emotional issues, can create work issues, people with chronic headaches, everything under the sun, that your brain controls it all. There is nothing your brain doesn't control. And so I just wanted to tell people and teach them how to do it. And this book, you can read it in an hour and a half. Nice. I didn't want a book that if someone read it, it was like, okay, 600 pages later, I don't remember the first and second chapter.
Yeah.
There's 7 basic chapters in the book, and it breaks those down very simply. And then we had our head editor, Sarah, who's the lead editor for JAMA, the Journal of American Medical Association. She helped edit it, get it locked in, and now it's ready for you guys to read it.
Let's talk a little bit about how you've moved into being a lead presenter and a keynote speaker, because obviously this information, people want it. You've now written this book and you are being booked all over the place to have it shared with employees and companies and everywhere.
Yep, because the worst day of the week usually is Monday. Why is Monday the worst day of the week when it comes into production in the business? And it's because you're back into that stressful environment. You just had this restful weekend, and then you come back into this fight or flight world. There's techniques that I teach these businesses on how to keep their employees out of that fight or flight so the production goes high, so the business is better. The wonderful thing is about major corporations and businesses, and even small businesses, it's about taking care of your employees. It's about taking care of them as an individual. And so I always look at it as when I come as a presenter, they always look, well, why would this doctor help me with my analytical team or my sales team? Well, if you don't have a high quality functioning brain and can handle stress neurologically, how are you going to perform and work? It's impossible.
It's sort of very key
to
everything.
So that's why you see in legislation and everything passing rules that, hey, big corporations need to have health fairs. So I come in and usually teach and present in these health fairs and kind of explain to people how their brain functions. And the awesome thing is, from a business standpoint, it doesn't just help their employee, it helps the employee's family. And then when you get back to the family, that's what really molds and change. We work with a Reborn Heroes. It's for wounded vets or people with PTSD. And that nonprofit organization helps us get to not just the soldiers, but their families.
Yeah. So if you are the event planner in a company, if you are with HR, or if you're an employee with a company and you know you have a health fair and you want to get this guy in there, how do they go about finding you?
Yes. So the Basis of Brain Rehab is the name of the website, so it's pretty simple. So the title and the website's the same. And in there at the very bottom, it talks about how to get a hold of us. So if you'd like me to come and speak, the size doesn't matter for us. We just want change for people. We want to give hope. So I've worked in a small law firm and spoke to 12 people, and I've spoke at major events that has been well over hundreds of people. So it's been fun.
Yeah. And you are offering a deal right now as a Talk365 deal. If you mention that you saw us today here on Talk365, you're going to get a discount for bringing him in. Do you want to tell about that?
Yeah, we'd love to. We just love to help in any way we can. For those of you that like us to come speak at it, we're giving you a 20% discount off of the speaking cost that usually has for someone like myself to come and speak at your event.
I absolutely love that. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And I love that too, because it's always my goal to share knowledge and information to the people out there as well to help change lives, because I've been on a weird journey myself I didn't plan on with the stomach situation, and it has definitely given me a ton of empathy and a ton of knowledge as far as what a lot of people go through and what you hear, because you do hear from a lot of doctors, you're just stressed and crazy and it's all in your head. And if that's the prognosis you've had for whatever you've got going on, check this out, because there is hope, and get this book because this information is finally available. Thank you, Christine. I appreciate you not answering my phone calls. You're forgiven now. Now can she go to lunch though? Let's mandate that she has to hang with me once in a while, right?
That should be important.
She won't. She's the boss of everything, right? She will make sure she doesn't, but anywho, we'll try. All right, well, Dr. Hatch, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Can we do this again?
I would love to.
Let's do a follow-up in a couple months and see how the book is going.
Okay.
And we'll go from there. And you've got all kinds of other things coming down the pipeline too that I know we can talk about. So we'll have this to be continued. Thank you. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right here on Talk365 right after this.